Hello, welcome to Back Pocket, the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted by us, the hosts of the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 28th of November, 2022. Today I'm joined by Peter Jerry Burns.
Hey! I don't fucking know.
68 years old. And I've already done all the intros for Miles, so it's Miles.
Hello! You can call me The Ross, just The. That was once my title on a show, and I've run with it ever since.
The Ross. What show?
They put The in brackets as though that was my own common in quotation, as though that was my gamer tag. I was like, well, okay, it is now.
I mean, someone has to have that gamer tag, right? Or maybe it's too short. Do gamer tags have length limits?
I think someone probably has the.
Yeah.
They've already claimed it.
All the good ones are gone, right?
Yeah.
All the good ones.
Surely. What happens when our generation dies? We have to all those names have to surely get reintroduced.
That's a fucking
Who
great
will the
question.
next Pierreth be? Who will be the next Nick Boy?
Honestly, in 100 years' time, they have to release them. It would be insane not to, because the names would just get. Names are already ridiculous. Look at so Miles the Ross has his name that has the in the middle is the most sensible one out of the three of us. Mm-hmm. Nick Boy is childish and stupid, and Pierreth is a consequence of limits of the amount of letters that you're allowed to use.
Do you think that when we do have to pass these names on, there's going to be like a ceremony, a bit like when Batman passes the mantle to the next one or whatever? Do you think that we'll have to do that or not?
I would like to, because I want to know who gets it. It's like when any sports player, they become associated with their number, and then someone else wants that number, and it's like, oh, are you worthy of wearing 27? And the answer is probably no. But they do it. They let them have it sometimes.
Well, yeah, but other times they retire the jersey. They just go this number. Like Kobe's number's retired. You can't have that, I believe.
What's his number?
I can't remember. What was his number? Maybe someone does.
And
is
it just on the Lakers?
27.
Yeah, so it's just it's different teams. But it happens a ton. But it's like that team will go, okay, that number, we're not going to use it for anyone else.
Look at chat. While we're talking about this, look at chat and look how many fucking awful names there are in there for all these poor young people. Sinister 12 has 8 fucking numbers in their name.
Yeah.
You can't live like that.
Egan James. What kind of monster ended up with what I assume is just their full name? Because at this point, the Melodic Storm is a name that is as valid to Simon as his actual real world name.
That's true.
But there's tons of fucking Simons wandering around the world. We didn't retire the word Simon just because one person is called Simon.
Yeah, no, true.
Yeah.
So we have retired some names, haven't we? Some people have made such a name for themselves that they've had their... There's not little adults running around.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're just talking about Hitler, right?
We all went there.
Yeah, there's no... you went to a 1-year-old's birthday party over the weekend, Pete, and they didn't go, look, and a big happy first birthday to little Genghis, who...
Genghis could make a comeback. I feel like we've got enough separation between the atrocities of Mr. Khan and...
Khan's a great name anyway.
Little Genghis. Yeah,
Khan's a fucking great last name.
Khan's a solid name.
Names. That's a world conqueror's name.
Because, you got to think, let's say Mussolini. You go... There's probably still a bunch of Benitos running around. There's probably new baby Benitos. There's probably there might be new baby Genghises, but I genuinely wonder when if anyone is calling their kid Adolf, because I think it is so.
No.
It's usually the last name that you go no one wants to be like
Stalin.
I don't know, Dharma, Stalin. Yeah. Beautiful.
I think also with Genghis though, Nick. I think if you get a Genghis, if you called your kid Genghis, most people would be like, "Why did your parents name you after a Pokemon? That's so lame."
So true.
They'd go there, and I think, I know, that's also awkward as hell. And you'd be like, no, it's actually the Mongolian warlord. And they'd be like, shut up, dick.
It's like, that is, calling it after the Pokemon is so much worse than calling it after the warlord.
Genghis apparently a common name in Turkey, so there you go.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. Can someone get me the information on how many baby adults there have been in the last 60 years or something?
Since the war.
Yeah, let's say the last 80 years, in the last 80 years. How many babies were named Adolf? I'm going to get you. The internet has this. In 1880, there were 6 baby boys named Adolf. 1880, right?
Wow.
So it peaked at 673 babies in 1917. 1950, the number of baby Adolfs born annually ranged from 117 to 153. In 2016, 7 newborn boys were named Adolf.
How many of them were involved? In 16, how many of them were carried to the January 6th attack on the Capitol in the United States?
How many of those kids were thrown through a window?
Well, I got political real quick. My fault. Sorry, guys. What were we talking about again? That's right. Adolf.
Video games.
The gaming news.
Good. Miles, good to have you here. That was a great start to everything. Also, I want to say, this is apropos of nothing, but I fell asleep last night watching Prometheus. You guys recently watched Prometheus?
Well, I fell asleep during that film as well.
It was in the cinema for me.
Yeah. I was wondering if it held up, and a podcast I listened to is doing like a recap thing on it. I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity. It's still very well made. It's still it's very frustrating. Yeah. It's a very frustrating viewing. It feels like a very unnecessary film. And so then this morning, as I was making breakfast for the children, I started watching Alien Covenant because I feel like I haven't learned my lesson.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
The kids didn't watch that, did they? Because it is it's grotesque at times.
Yeah. So at one point, Elkie walked over and wanted a vitamin. She has these little gummy vitamins, and she just looked up, and as she looks up, there's just some horrific shit happening. I think it was at the point there's a man literally on fire, and I knocked the phone down, and she sort of stepped back, and I was like, no, there'll be no witnessing this. But mainly, I was trying to protect her from the quality of the film and not necessarily the content.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If she asks, it's. What are you watching, Daddy? Just like, it's Joe Rogan, honey. You don't want to watch that.
Yeah. Joe Rogan's interviewing Jordan Peterson, and Daddy just needs to learn how to be a man,
how to be a monster, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Good. The only good thing that came out of Prometheus, we went to when we were in Iceland. We visited Dettifoss, the great big waterfall at the start of the movie, where the big naked sort of Promethean man stands. Yeah, massive, loads of water, love water, massive, loads of it.
That's what you want at a waterfall.
Yeah, loads of it.
Yeah. A volume
always falling. Loads of froth, proper spray, lovely, absolutely wonderful.
You know how people when they go to Abbey Road will reenact the crossing the thing. Do you reckon that people go to that waterfall and then just drop a robe and drink a little black vial of liquid, disintegrate and fall into the water? Do you reckon that ever happens?
Hashtag Prometheus, hashtag Ridley Scott, hashtag, yeah.
Yeah, hashtag loving life.
Hashtag blessed,
yeah. Excellent, fantastic. Good. All right, should we talk about some video games?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because Pete, the news is going to break itself.
I forgot how good this is. I forgot how good this is.
Yeah, it's all good shit. The backup is presented by one of our top stitch patrons, the best evil person we know, both Pete and I, who decided to wear purple before Miles joined the call. I connected to VMix. We just saw each other, both went, fuck, and then just both took off our shirts, walked off, came back, and both had changed shirts. So neither of us got the opportunity to wear purple today.
Yeah, and I'm still feeling a little bit of the chill of being nude for a moment, you know?
It's that mountain air on the nips.
Yeah.
I'm technically wearing your shirt right now because you gave me this shirt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This was he bought it for himself and was like, I'm never fucking wearing this.
This is to be worn by a mannequin, also known as Nick Boy.
Yep.
Nick, do you have the dimensions of a perfect mannequin of the standard store?
Tell me.
Oh,
is Nick? Nick actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, I look like that Bond's bust, and it's got that perfect V.
Yeah,
but then at the bottom, it like all the plastic pulled, and it just kicks out into love handles.
Which is exactly the same as the Promethean from the Promethean man from Prometheus.
He was thick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was quite. I think we can slot Prometheus jokes into this entire podcast.
I think we should try it
as well. Yeah,
definitely try.
Yeah. By the way, the end of that film when the guy who dies, like the engineer who gets the face hugger on his face in the escape pod, and it shoves the little alien dick in its mouth, and then it collapses on him in a way. It is the most, like, all of the alien thing is super. There's a lot of pregnancy, there's a lot of penetration, there's a lot of like sexualized imagery, but the way that alien body just completely
thrusts
collapses on top of like that once it's achieved is the most realistic thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Of like that is just sex. That's a hard pounding, and then it's just I'm spent, and it's just lying on top of the other person still inside them going, well, one of us needs to get tissues now.
I might have to rewatch that scene because that sounds good.
I mean, Evil Spy Boy, who, thanks to his generous Patreon support, he's bringing you the backup, and he hosts you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast, more than 132,000 students across the country, and on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. Nightbot has a link for you right now, and head to tastymealtyfish.com for more information about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. Let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week, as voted on by us, the host of the backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. And Miles, Ross, start us off with a story that made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
I backed right on it when I saw this one, that The Witcher is getting a complete and utter total remaster, essentially, and this is top to bottom. Nearly every single element of the game is getting tweaked and fine-tuned. And I mean...
Witcher 3.
The Witcher 3, specifically, The Wild Hunt. This was... When I saw this news, I was like, I mean, this is cool. And I was like, yeah, I mean, they tend to do this, the Game of the Year editions and stuff. But this is like, the next-gen update is truly next level. I mean, we're talking everything. They've taken a lot of learnings from Cyberpunk, and if you did watch this video, you learned that quite a few folks who were meant to be working on Cyberpunk actually didn't do their jobs and dived in to work on this, which is quite frankly not surprising. It shows, the work shows, but we've got a photo mode, and we've got ray tracing, everything from graphical overlays. The audio's been tweaked, everything's got a little touch up here or there. Really nice quality of life features for the game, though. For those who did play The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt when it first came out, it did play like absolute shit. It was really clunky. It was horrible. Geralt didn't move very well. All of that's been changed again. There's been a revamp to the way that you use your signs, your magic in the game. That's been adjusted. They've even got like a close camera mode, which I think is basically just like we played God of War Ragnarok and we thought this looked really cool. So we're zooming everything in a little bit. So the game's going to be able to be played from a much closer perspective, which lets you get really intimate with all those little moments with Roach. And when you're fighting folks, it's going to be quite nice. Haptic feedback. You name it, new missions, new stuff, Netflix DLC. That's right, you can dress just like Geralt of Rivia from the Netflix hit The Witcher, starring Henry Cavill. Not the new one starring the little baby boy Hemsworth. God, that's going to be awful. All sorts of cool shit, though. And if you enjoyed The Witcher 3, which I think every single human being alive did, this is for you. And if you own the game, you get this update for free.
Now, I own the
scratch the surface there. There was loads in this. Loads. Truly loads.
Yeah. I own the game and still have not played it through. I get to like 5 or 6 hours in.
Peter!
I've done that like 3 times. I watched Steph play so much of it that I kind of know where it all goes. So as I've been playing through, I've kind of just put it down and not picked it back up again. And I'm wondering if this little facelift will be the incentive to...
No.
Nicholas.
I can't believe
definitely be the
not done
incentive
it.
for you to start the first 6 hours again. I think 100% that's going to happen.
I reckon I'll do that again.
Because I'm the same. I've played it technically 3 times, and every single time I get up to fucking Skellig, and then I'm just which for me is like, I think I've spoken about this at some point on the show. As soon as a game transports me to a brand new map, if your game's name isn't Elden Ring, I just go, all right, I'm done. Like, I was trying to just get through this fucking place, and then you moved me to an entirely new place that I wasn't even aware existed and has its own enormous map. I can't do this.
Enormous, by the way, enormous. Well, for those of you who do get to do that, they've made some quality of life changes to the way the map responds to you discovering things, marking things. So if you did make it to Skellige and you had the meat and veg to get through the whole thing, it should be that bit easier to navigate now. So there.
We've just been called out for having zero meat nor veg, Nicholas.
Yeah, both of your diets are appalling.
That's not true at all because Pete and I just stripped in front of each other, and I can confirm meat and veg present, but a little cold. You mentioned the Netflix thing as well. They said that there's going to be a new quest inspired by the show, and then that's all the information that they gave. I am curious as to what that will be because, like, every time The Witcher puts out DLC, they're like, "Here's 40 hours worth of new content."
I know that one mission could be a whole bloody game. You never know.
Totally.
But, I don't know what they would take because a lot of the elements from The Witcher show have been referenced in some way, shape, or form from the game because it's essentially, I mean, at least the first season, the good season, the second one was a bit ass. The first season had lots of sort of touches from the first, I think, 3 books. The first book at the very least, which is like a weird little compendium of fun stories. So that's all there. I don't know where they go. I mean, everyone gets outfits, which is cute, but I don't know what you do. I don't know. You give a mission where maybe Geralt becomes a totally new person and it's a reference to Hemsworth coming in. Don't know. I'm going to play it, though, to death because I love this game dearly. It was great.
Yeah, I think like maybe the only other thing that will get me through this attempt at playing the game is that since the last time I played, I've actually read a lot of the Witcher books. Like I think I've read 6 or 7 of them. I didn't go and do the prequel one that was like the most recent book. So I'll have a lot more context to the world and the game. And I know it's not like a 1-for-1 retelling. They've made some decisions for the game. But there might be enough kind of references that I go like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm kind of like, I understand what this means in a broader context now, so it's more interesting than just being like an obscure fantasy town that I don't really know. I can go like, oh, this is where they did that and that and that, and that's enough. But yeah.
Peter Burns.
Witcher.
Gus and I will be playing squash before you finish The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Okay, if I finish The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt...
Storytelling was not The Witcher's problem of going like, I don't understand what's going on in this world.
If I finish The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt before you and Gus play squash together, you owe me $50.
Done.
Ooh.
Done. Someone in chat asked, is it coming to Switch? It's not. PC, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series. The game can't even run on Switch right now, let alone all these improved visuals like ray tracing.
This is quite an intensive update.
It's ridiculous. Sorry for shouting out who was that? Denver the Grey. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to. Great name though. Can't wait for someone else to.
Great name.
Yes.
Yes.
Peter Burns.
Yes,
what story caught your eye?
The story that caught my eye was, and we've talked about this in the past about how Netflix are trying to kind of carve out a space for themselves in video gaming, and they've made a big step in that direction by a few jobs that have just been listed on the Netflix.com website for a game director for a brand new, this is inverted commas, brand new AAA PC game. They formed a studio in LA with Overwatch boss, former Overwatch boss Chaco Sonny. The tech giant is seeking talent that has experience with FPS and or third-person shooter games and extensive experience working on live service games. There are also nods to experience working with social systems and both cooperative and competitive gameplay, plus working knowledge of Unreal Engine. So,
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it is the first game that they're going to develop from the ground up with a AAA budget. Will that result in AAA quality video gaming?
No.
Google's Stadia teams say no. Amazon's in-house development teams say no. So, budget or no, I think if content isn't the driver...
I hope that those teams aren't saying no because those teams probably all work for Netflix now. All those people are probably like, we'll do it.
Oh, good point.
But yeah, absolutely. Like, we've seen Amazon and Google build their own teams to build games for their game arms, and they've not had a lot of success. New World is probably the closest thing we've had to, and it had I won't say bad launch. It had a rough launch and maybe a bit of an uninspired classic MMO design when it launched, and they're trying to give it some of its own identity post launch. But we certainly haven't seen a massive tech company come into the gaming scene with a bang and go, "This is Game of the Year contention."
No.
Maybe Netflix could be the one to do it.
Maybe.
I mean, go, Mars.
No, I was just going to say, like, going back to sort of other big mega corps, getting involved in these industries and whatnot. I just don't know if it ever is going to fly in the same way, unless you can do something attractive enough or pay the people who already work in the games industry enough money to come across and provide their expertise. You ain't going to get Corey Barlog or Balrog or whatever his wonderful name is to jump ship and go work for Amazon. He's Balrog to me every time I read it. It's Balrog.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'd let him pass. He's a genius. I just don't think they're ever going to quite get there. And especially Amazon just let go 10,000 employees. 10,000. Again, I think most of those were sort of like the store level or whatever. But even then, like these companies, they might make that much money, but you need $300 million to make a AAA game these days. That is the kind of benchmark for like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 300 million, give or take, right? Yeah. Most AAA titles, it is a similar number. Where are you going to pull that money from, huh? Bezos? I mean, that's chump change for him, but I just don't know. I just don't think they're ever going to do it. I don't.
Yeah. You can get another 7 Adam Sandler films with that money.
Oh my God. At least one of those might be okay.
Don't you think
he's a 1 in 7 hit, right? Yeah, I reckon that's probably fair.
As soon as he's in someone else's movie and it's a drama, it's great. Yeah, that's right. It was Little Nicky, Punch Drunk Love, Uncut Gems, the three
Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
Fuck, I know that great. Madison holds up. Does not
doubt it.
Sure.
I as an aside, I did watch Team America World Police recently and cried myself into a fury of just joy because it was absolutely hilarious and maybe funnier now than ever before because of the way the world is.
It's crazy that it's still so relevant. It's awful that it is, but it's
unbelievably. And again, Pete, possibly more so than ever.
With the not puppets vomiting talk, but instead Netflix AAA thing, do you think that, because like technically there's no reason why it shouldn't work. If you hire good people to make a good video game and they overcome the 4 billion problems that come up while trying to make a video game, then you should be able to do it. But I do wonder if there's a thing where all these companies, like Google, like Amazon, and like potentially Netflix, because they don't need it, it's like it just doesn't have the same, like they're not experts in the space from a corporate level, even though they will be hiring experts. But there's just this sense of like Amazon didn't need their game studios to work. They wanted them to work, but there wasn't that thing of like, I don't know whether or not it's just like they have the ability to chase a trend because they've got so much money that it doesn't really matter. Like that you don't need to come up with the greatest idea of all time. It's just that's always that feeling when these companies get into it. I'm just like, oh, do you need to make a video game or do you want to make a video game? Because I feel like making video games are so hard. You have to need to make a video game. And even big companies like Ubisoft need to make video games. Like if one Ubisoft big game like an Assassin's Creed doesn't hit, Ubisoft are in fucking trouble. So like they only have video games.
Yeah, so I like the point there that Amazon has so much money it can just dive on whatever the latest trend is and hope to make it big. It's a miracle we didn't see the Bezos crypto coin come out. Like that didn't hit the shelves at all, which is a good thing. But yeah, I don't think they're there. And again, to your point, Nick, it's not a necessity for the business to thrive or survive or anything. Like the only reason why we have James Bond films is because MGM needs them to keep the company afloat. One James Bond funds however many years of MGM films, which is fucking crazy. Yeah, that's all it takes, And also, you're right.
What else are MGM making?
I'll tell you in a second. I tell you what, they did make in 1939. Wizard of Oz, absolute banger. Gone with the Wind, banger. Yeah. House of Gucci didn't do great. Rocky Balboa, 2006. Legally Blonde, classic. I mean, there's tons of shit in here. Creed 3's coming out soon.
Pizza.
I feel like I used to see that Lion Roar every third film I saw, and now it's like.
And now it's Jason Statham's The Wrath of Man.
Totally. Oh, fuck, that line used to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Same as the little New Line film film cell?
the reel,
Yep.
the film reel, and it would roll. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I'm just going back to like the mask there. That's the one that always stuck in my head, and the little jingle.
100%.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Yeah. Okay. The only way that the Netflix thing, and I don't know whether or not it works. I mean, how do Netflix things work on the phone at the moment? It's a standalone app. You need to sign into Netflix to be able to play it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So then
they better fix that account sharing bullshit by then. Otherwise, my whole family's playing the Netflix version of Counter Strike.
Counter Strike. Because then it's also like, what platform is this going on? Because it's interesting seeing, there was a period over the last sort of 8 years where every publisher decided we needed a launcher, and they all made launchers, and now all those companies are going, actually, you know what? We're just going to go back to Steam.
Let me go back to Steam.
Everyone's just going, except Riot are the only ones who are like managing to survive with their own launcher, and everyone else is just like, no, we're putting it back on fucking Steam. So Steam would need to play ball with Netflix, and that seems like Steam don't really play ball with anyone particularly well. So, all right, we'll see how that goes.
Wait, one last point I think did cross my mind. I'll say, is it a company culture thing? Is it, that these the games industry and the sort of, streaming service industry, or even Amazon, the commerce, global conglomerate industry, they don't quite cross over, and there isn't a cultural sort of a company culture that is at all replicable elsewhere. But I was thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, Amazon works its people to the bone to make sure that the job is done. That's the same as the games industry, so surely they should thrive.
I was going to say, fucking
Amazon should have been well positioned.
Essentially slave labor with no mercy whatsoever. Surely they should be kicking ass. But
Miramax was owned by a sexual predator. They will fit right in the AAA game space.
Right in.
Yeah.
Like a glove.
My story. Oh,
I was just going to say, the biggest concern that I have with the Netflix thing is a AAA PC shooter with social systems, a live service on the Unreal Engine. It just sounds like the most generic. As we've been talking about, like, why be in it if you don't need to be in it? They're just jumping on a trend, what they think will sell. Like, it's the most buzzwordy kind of like job listing in the world, and it doesn't speak to we have a cool idea. It speaks to we want to make money where we see Call of Duty and Overwatch making money, which doesn't give me any hope for it. Hopefully I'm wrong.
Hopefully you're wrong.
Won't be.
My story that caught my eye this week it's just a little one, but PlayStation are cracking down on shovelware on their store. They have announced that they are going to start implementing some systems to remove a lot of the just shit games that are on their store. So shovelware or games that are like built for easy platinum trophies, or reskinned games, or games that are just asset flips of other games, all that sort of stuff. The Sony have said that they are going to implement a rule system where if one of their partners or someone trying to list a game on the store has showed that they keep spamming the store with just bullshit or repetitive content, then Sony reserves a right to remove that content or even end the PlayStation partner's account. And This is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I think that's good. At the same time, I'm like, if we have to live in a capitalist society, I think everyone should be allowed to engage in the capitalist society in the way that they want to within legal means, particularly things like easy platinum games. It's like, all right, well, you made a system where you want people to play video games for dumb little trophies on your store, on your platform. People decided to put out games where all you need to do is boot up each level and then that gives you a trophy. That's dumb, but that's also just like, people only did that because you incentivized people getting trophies on your platform. And then to go, like, I'm kind of like, the person who makes that game and sells it for $1, that's what we're all trying to do. We're all just fucking out here hustling for money and trying to come up with something. Yeah. And so I kind of feel like, with the exception of things where they're just like stolen a game, put it up there, because like even something like Vampire Survivors could be like, is there enough game here? Yes, there definitely is. Vampire Survivors is fucking excellent and it could be game of the year. But at the same time, it's like, in terms of what is a video game, it's erring way closer to a clicker game than it is anything else on the Sony store. So I think that I would rather see systems in place where it just deprioritizes that stuff. Like everyone looks at Steam as being the disaster zone, I suppose, for shovelware. But for me, it's like it's definitely Nintendo and the eShop are the ones where I'm like, this store needs a system more than it needs to delist things. But that's kind of just how I feel. Miles, how do you feel about my surprising pro-capitalist turn?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And again, as somebody who also shakes it for a living, we all got to make our money. I think that Sony should surely make it a little harder to add a platinum trophy to your shit little game. Frankly, I think that's the bottom line. Again, you're trying to attract a market of people that like to collect the little platinum trophies. Just make it that bit harder. Make it a tiny bit more difficult. That way, the game devs, game design, if you want to call them that, if it's just literally copy and pasting whatever. No offense, I don't understand it. Just make it that bit more challenging to acquire the coveted platinum trophy, and then I think it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine. I'm with you on the capitalist thing, though, mate. Jesus, we all need to make some cash.
Yeah,
it's hard living out in America. Bullets are expensive. Not funny.
The realities of the US.
I think that was the one. Now I'm getting a shot.
That's the cancelled one.
That was the one.
You're gone. Sorry, this show goes nowhere.
No one's watching.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. I think like the idea of deleting the stuff from your platform definitely talks to Sony's positioning of itself as a premium gaming platform, which is definitely been trying to do since the success of Game Pass. You've got all the games, we've got fewer games, and they're all good. Which I totally understand as a positioning of the company, but I just think like it's so reductive to just be that it would be a shame if it didn't allow quirky, weird, cheap, a little bit broken things to get into the store, because I don't really perceive it as a problem because I get that stuff on Steam, but some people don't have a PC and they want to go like, I just want to see what someone made. And if PlayStation is their only platform and you're restricting the ability for them to do any of that, I think that's a net loss for PlayStation owners and therefore Sony. So I think it's an odd decision to, unless it's like really, really obviously fraudulent or
exactly.
Yeah, or just stolen or whatever, then yeah, you're right. If it's in the realms of being a legally published, sold thing, I think they should maybe move it into a drawer, and Steam do this, the Steam feature games that are upvoted or are from a respected publisher, and then you have to go new games, all new releases to see the myriad of just fucking trash Flash games that came out today, which, there's always 20 things that came out every day. And few of them are worth playing. But I think it would be cool if there was a corner of the PlayStation Store that captured this, and doesn't need to necessarily promote it, but rather than getting rid of it.
Yeah, totally. Like it definitely, in the same way as Nintendo with the eShop, it should not be something that I'm first greeted with when I boot up the store. It is not the reason that people are going to the store for, but I think that like people are making these games for a reason. They're either making a bit of money from it, or they're trying to learn how to make games and are just publishing the ones that they do make to sort of go like, all right, well, I guess I've published something. Like, in some way, this is benefiting someone, and if it's not actively hurting anyone, if they're not like stealing something, then I kind of go like, well, I think it's a bit unfair. Even if the idea is total shit and it's a complete rip-off of something else, it's not like the Pokemon clone game is in any way going to affect Pokemon's bottom line.
No.
So, but there might be someone out there who makes $200 a quarter from it and is like, well, this is going to keep me interested in my hobby, then I'm kind of like, well, why is it that Game Freak can release broken fucking games and yet you're not allowed to, random person living in Vietnam or something? So yeah.
It almost feels like
it definitely needs filtering and some sort of like quality control when it comes to just like the things you see pretty
featured.
Yeah, like in the first 3 layers of your exploration of the store.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, imagine if we eliminated open mic stand-up from the world. No one would ever try and do it. No one could ever get good at doing it. And then you wouldn't have, future comedians. And then I think, it's something really exciting about, like, imagine being a kid who's just come up with this kind of shitty idea for a game, but you've made it, you saw it through, you showed your parents, they left a review, no one had to get any trouble, no one got hurt, but you made a thing, and that thing could become, the next Corey Balrog can see you and go, fucking hell, that's my guy. And without
on the fridge.
Get it?
and also these shit games.
That's what the store should be called, the fridge, and you put it on the fridge. Oh, Pete.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Genius.
These shit games also have little, there might be something in them that's actually interesting and iconic. I mean, you make a shit film like Prometheus, and yet in the middle of that shit film, there's a cesarean scene that's fucking spectacular, and you just go, this deserves to be in a better movie. The moment when it comes out and then that little egg bursts and all that fluid goes back into the open wound that then gets stitched up, you're just like, this is the most fucked up thing I could possibly imagine, watching on my phone at 11:15 p.m. at night in bed. What are you doing, Nick? This is why you have bad
just
dreams.
wait. See this, and then somebody saw that, and now in the Callisto project, there's going to be a scene where that happens, where all the juices get mixed, and you're going to go, "Wow, that's fucking great."
100%. But then the death animation of you dying from all those juices inside is locked behind the season pass.
Oh yeah.
Other stories that have happened this week. Fuck, we're so good at our jobs. All right, that's literally all the video game news that happened this week. There's nothing else you need to know.